And as the battle over Don McGahn plays out, President Trump also pushing back, saying his attorneys are looking at the bigger picture.
They're doing that for the office of the presidency for future presidents. I think it's a very important precedent. And the attorneys say that they're not doing that for me. They're doing that for the office of the president. So we're talking about the future.
Let's bring in Bret Baier. He's anchor of Special Report. He's author of many books, including, I think, a new one that's coming out soon, which we'll have you back to talk about. But right now, if we could talk about this push. I wanted to maybe just paint a picture for people so that they understand. But the president actually is surrounded by some lawyers who actually worked to protect the office of the presidency in previous administrations, including Bill Clinton and also the George W. Bush administration. This is Emmett Flood, the lawyer that's there at the White House. I think that this is important for people to understand. This is not just a partisan thing. You have people have different thoughts about the branches of government and the office of the presidency in particular. Author of many books, including, I think, a new one that's coming out soon, which we'll have you back to talk about. But right now, if we could talk about this push. I wanted to maybe just paint a picture for people so that they understand. But the president actually is surrounded by some lawyers who actually worked to protect the office of the presidency in previous administrations, including Bill Clinton and also the George W. Bush administration. This is Emmett Flood, the lawyer that's there at the White House. I think that this is important for people to understand. This is not just a partisan thing. You have people have different thoughts about the branches of government and the office of the presidency in particular.
That's exactly right, Dan. And this is not just this president. You would hear some of the talk from Democrats up on Capitol Hill and say this is very unique and unprecedented. It's not at all. And you heard Catherine mention the Ben Rhodes testimony about Iran that was turned down by the White House during the Obama administration. Then the White House counsel Neil Eggleston said the appearance of a senior presidential advisor before Congress threatens the independence and the autonomy of the president, as well as his ability to receive candid advice and counsel in the discharge of his constitutional duties. Remember, that's President Obama's White House chief counsel with that letter to Congress.
The other story that I want to get your take on, because you're there in D.C. and you can sort of feel when things are bubbling up, and this is whether Nancy Pelosi really does face a rift within her party about whether to go for impeachment against the president. Listen to her with an interview with Mika Brzezinski on MSNBC.
Doesn't it put more pressure on you that a conservative Republican says the threshold for impeachment has been met?
No.
No?
No.
Why?
Well, we have to, this isn't about politics. It's not about passion. It's not about prejudice. It's not about politics. It's about patriotism, and it's about the presentation of the facts so that the American people can see why we're going down a certain path.
Brett, sometimes the live TV gods smile upon you. In my ear, while we were playing that interview, we just found out that Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, has called a special meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. with House Democrats, in particular, to talk about this very issue, impeachment. So I think I'm answering my own question. The pressure is actually real.
Real and mounting. And you have people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez who are out every day with sound bites and tweets and pushing impeachment. You have others on the inside saying it is time. And, you know, Nancy Pelosi can say whatever she wants about, you know, laying out the facts. It's as if Democrats wanted to go down the road of committee hearings to have an impeachment but not have an impeachment. Because the political gamble here is that you go down the road and it turns the other way on Democrats, and the public perceives they're just obsessed with impeachment and not getting other things done.
And it's quite partisan. If you look at the Fox News poll, I think we just released this last week, you see Democrats are a yes for impeachment at 72%, Republicans against it 87%, independents very much split. And I think that's why you see this interesting tension that you have House Democrats that maybe feel this way. And I'm not saying their constituents don't, they probably do. But when you're covering the presidential race and you're covering all of the candidates, they're not talking about impeachment when they're out actually trying to win the primary, and hopefully for them, you know, they're thinking general election, and impeachment is not even in their top 15 issues.
That's right, and they're not getting asked about it a lot. However, I will say more and more candidates, Dana, as you know, are starting to mention it to try to get oxygen. Remember, there's 23 candidates here, and they need oxygen to get playtime on TV, you know, whether it's MSNBC talking about impeachment or CNN or whomever. And so you have more and more candidates like Elizabeth Warren and Eric Swalwell and getting out there and saying, I'm calling for impeachment, and suddenly their name is in a story or a soundbite.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. That we have a little breaking news there. Speaker Pelosi calling for a meeting at 9 a.m. House Democrats to try to figure out what they're going to do on impeachment. I'm sure you will cover this on Special Report at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll watch you there. Thank you, Bret Baier.
Thanks, Dana.
And be sure to check out Bret's weekly podcast, The Candidates. This week, he and his all-star panelists analyzed Joe Biden's campaign. It's available for download on iTunes or wherever you listen. I listened this morning. It was very informative. And soon, we'll discuss the Democrats' divide on calls for impeachment with Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna. That'll be in just a few minutes after the break. Fox News alert: flash flooding still a serious threat in the southern plains. The region still reeling from a string of intense storms and damaging tornadoes over the weekend. It's incredible video. Matt Finn is in the middle of it and joins us now live from Tulsa. Matt?
Dana, we're in a neighborhood about 6 miles west of the International Airport in Tulsa, where the National Weather Service confirms a tornado touchdown this morning. And this neighborhood also hit hard by a very powerful storm that several neighbors tell us appeared to be a twister as well. There are downed power lines and roadblocks and large trees that have basically crushed homes. And we spoke to a young girl who says she helped rescue some of her neighbors from this house.
Then we heard people screaming, which was the mom and the older sister. They were screaming help. It was terrifying. The man was yelling help. He wanted to get taken out. He sounded terrified in there.
This powerful storm system produced at least 12 tornadoes, including a substantial twister in Mangum, Oklahoma, and Lubbock, Texas. Unfortunately, people there woke up to properties that were completely leveled. Dana.
Incredible video. What areas are facing this kind of severe weather today? Because I understand the threat is still very real.
Yeah, if this neighborhood is any indication, this storm has a lot of power and the threat is very real. The latest from the National Weather Service this afternoon, Dana, says that there are still tornado watches in Arkansas until 7 p.m. local time. There is an enhanced risk of dangerous storms in parts of western Illinois, Missouri, and northern Arkansas, and severe thunderstorms into Kansas and beyond, Dana. So everyone use caution because this storm is dangerous.
All right. Thank you, Matt. And we'll continue our coverage of the severe weather in the plains, looking at the areas hit hardest by the floods, as you can see right there. And right now, two of the president's top secretaries are briefing lawmakers on the Iran threat, where the U.S. stands with America's longtime adversary. Up next. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling for a special meeting of House Democrats tomorrow as pressure mounts on her to call for the impeachment of President Trump, causing some rifts within the party. Multiple headlines on this topic surfacing every day recently. Joining me is Democratic Congressman from California, Ro Khanna. Great to have you here. One of the interesting things has been how many people within the Democratic caucus are now out just openly talking about this idea of possible rifts within the party or pushing for impeachment. And the speaker is still saying she doesn't think it's time yet, but she's calling this special meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We just found out about that. How do you see it from your perspective?
Well, Dana, I'm with Speaker Pelosi. I think we have to be focused on the job of the American people. I'm excited about her meeting with the president tomorrow to get a $2 trillion infrastructure deal. We should have continued investigations, but it's premature to start anything else. And so I will be supporting her in the meeting tomorrow. Why
do you think she's had to call for this meeting? Can you feel that she's being pressured?
I do think there are people in candor who want to move faster, and especially in light of Justin Amash's tweets, think that we need to be doing something faster. I believe that she has it right, that we have to build a case. We need to have witnesses come before Congress. And most importantly, we have to show the American people that we're doing things to improve their lives and trying to find some common ground to get things done.
What do you say to people who would suggest that what Speaker Pelosi is endorsing is basically a shadow impeachment, and other Democrats want to just make it official and go for it?
I think there's a huge difference. What she is saying is Congress needs to do its oversight functions. We need to have the committees investigate where there has been misconduct. Everyone agrees that there was interference in the election. We need to look at why foreign countries intervened and what we can do to solve that issue. So she's talking about rigorous government oversight, not making it about an impeachment of this president. And, you know, the president's not going to take my advice, but if I were him, I wouldn't make her job harder. When he meets with her tomorrow, I would not obstruct these hearings, which is actually putting more pressure on her to go down the road of impeachment.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. I don't think he's going to take that advice.
No.
I do wonder about the grassroots pressure on her. This is a tweet from former Deputy Secretary for HUD Public Affairs, Brandon Friedman. Now, he worked in the Obama administration, but an active Democrat saying, he said this, I mean, this is truly ridiculous. Democrats were sold a bill of goods by Pelosi. Vote for us so we can become the majority and hold Trump accountable. And when voters did that, the argument became we can't hold Trump accountable because it could jeopardize our majority. Now, in her defense, I think she's also thinking about those 31 House seats that helped get the majority that were won by Democrats in seats where Trump won in 2016, and he endeavors to win them again in 2020.
And I would argue we won in 2018 on health care, on increasing minimum wage, on investing in infrastructure, on lowering the cost of prescription drugs. That's what a lot of my colleagues campaigned on. Yes, they said we need to exercise vigorous oversight, and we are. We're engaged in 5 different investigations of this president and misconduct. But to ignore the main issues that we campaigned on would be